Hello, my name is Matthew, and we're at the midpoint of the year, and I thought I would just do a quick recap, um, talk about some highlights as far as what I've read, and also some highlights regarding my channel, things like that. And the first thing that I'm happiest about, that includes my channel and also my reading schedule, has been doing buddy reads with Alan at the Book Traveler. Um, it's been one of the most rewarding parts of this whole year. So far, I think we've read 6 books together. Joseph and His Brothers, which we both dropped. Um, Fathers and Sons, Madame Bovary, Toilers of the Sea, Jude the Obscure, and I believe we both just recently finished The Way We Live Now by Trollope. I still need to make my review for that. And we've just been having terrific email correspondences. I feel like we both have similar sensibilities, or at least a lot of overlap in the kind of books that we like. Um, his channel is The Book Traveler, and he has a fantastic YouTube channel. It's really the kind of thing that I like to watch. He just talks to the camera and in a very enjoyable way and thoroughgoing talks about his impressions of the books that he's reading. It's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to all the books that we're going to read together. Aside from that, the other thing that I've been really happy with is not only reading the Norton Anthology, but sticking with it. And I feel that actually making the videos has given me a lot of motivation, because it has been a lot of work, and it's not always just pleasure reading. There's been times where it's just been a challenge to either understand or just extract some sort of appreciation, and I really feel that that I've gotten a lot out of it, even so far. It's been a few months of me reading this thing, and I do feel that my reading comprehension has changed. Every day I'm reading Middle English and real old-timey English, and at this point it's significantly less noticeable. I can just read close to my normal reading pace, and I know that's just from practice. So I'm looking forward to continuing that series and finishing it, and maybe picking up some in the future, picking up like the American literature anthology, or African American literature anthology, or something like that. Two things which are kind of connected. I was, when the lockdown happened due to the pandemic and public health crisis, I started a Winnie the Pooh series where I just each night read one of the stories in Winnie the Pooh, and it was a great comfort to me, just privately, whatever night that was. I just instinctively took the book off the page and started reading it, and thought, it's a comfort to me. Maybe I'll just record it, and other people might also find some relief. And the response was terrific. I had gotten so many comments and private messages, private emails of people just letting me know that they really enjoyed it. And when there's something so big and you think, I'm not doing anything, I felt like it was just a very small positive contribution And the same thing goes. I did a quarantine series. I had a friend that had a 14-day quarantine, so just for a little bit of amusement for someone stuck in isolation, each day I told a story for 14 days, just a story in my life. And um, that was a little different than talking about books. Um, but I got a positive response. I really enjoyed it. Um, Part of me thinks like if I have an entertaining story to tell, maybe I could just turn on the camera. Um, the thing that I liked was that um, there was a context and also a motivation. I had a real reason um, to do it, and I cared to do it. Um, Also, I've been reading. I had a Maupassant Monday series, which has been just so much fun. Each Monday for weeks now, I've read a short story by Guy de Maupassant, and then told you about it. Uh, I've actually backed off on that a little bit. Uh, I don't know if I just hit um, a certain thread, but I felt like for the past few weeks, I felt like every Maupassant short story that I read ended in a suicide, and I just had to take a little bit of a break. Um, the other thing that has been really fantastic is, I don't know, a couple months ago, I made a video asking for recommendations for um, children's books. I have a little niece, and just threw it out there. Are there any um, children's books that you loved, or children's books that you always give as gifts? And the response was staggering. Just dozens of recommendations. People sent me children's books. They mailed them to me. It's amazing. Um, and then that's sort of like kind of channel-y stuff, which I'm 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 proud of, and happy. I'm happy that I've met Alan, and have a really positive association. It's a friendship, and it's great. Um, and a lot of this that I've talked about has been, um, my connection with a lot of people that I've met through this screen. But as far as my reading goes, several of the books that I mentioned that Alan and I had read were highlights. Some other things outside of that, I reread Moby Dick, and I also reread Demons by Dostoevsky, um, which was just superb, both of them. Moby Dick is just astounding and amazing. Demons was, for me, a little bit more difficult, but um, it was an incredible reading experience. Going through it again does add a lot. I loved reading. I've read the correspondence between Flaubert and Turgenev, which was so enjoyable. I have another collection of letters from Flaubert and George Sand, which I really want to get to at some point. The poetry of Whitman, I read Leaves of Grass, which was a wholly different experience. It was a really personal reading experience. I felt like I felt like Whitman was just coming off the page. Horace, maybe the best discovery of the year. Reading the poetry of Horace. This was a recommendation from Steve Donahue, and I've been going back to it. It's something that I've been keeping on my next to my bed. And actually, the first book I read this year, all the way January 1st, when I read it, was The Pillow Book. It's nearly like an ancient, strange little book. It was great, really weird. And I guess as far as I don't know about stats, but I read 21 novels, just proper novels. And then I didn't count. I've read tons of short stories and handful of plays, lots of poetry. I've read a lot more poetry than I've documented. I've read a lot of Wordsworth, which I don't know if I've mentioned in one video specifically. I don't think I have. And all the weird fragments and selections and pieces from the Norton Anthology. So 21 proper novels and then a whole bunch of other stuff. And I'm very happy with my amount of reading and what I've read this year. I feel like it's been focused, consistent. I'm happy to say that I lucked out with not having what do I want to say, a reading slump. With all of the stress that's on television and the radio and internet, reading was still a welcome escape for me. So the other thing I'll mention is I also feel so much more confident and comfortable in front of the camera. My whole channel is really a learning curve, and I'm happy that I am much more comfortable talking to a screen as if I'm talking to a real person, and it's noticeable. My earlier videos were halting. So yeah, a recap for the year. I feel like I've read a lot of good things, met a lot of good people, had good experiences, and I thank you for that, for your part in that. Leave a comment if you would like, and that's it. Thank you for watching. Take care.